Today, we're going to dive into a case study about a really complex and painful family conflict. We'll start by hearing the story exactly as it was shared, because the details paint a picture of a dynamic that, well, a lot of people might find painfully familiar.
Hello, I have the following case with my mother and father. By coincidence, my father's ID card remained with my mother last year, and she does not want to give it back to him. My father is an elderly man, has alcohol problems, and lives in the countryside. Relatives warned us that there are malicious people in the countryside who want to trick him into selling his land for next to nothing, and maybe even his house. And my parents have been separated for over 30 years, without a divorce, which constantly causes trouble. And they do not communicate in principle unless a relative dies, and besides, they do not feel any particular sympathy for each other. For several months now, both of them have been calling me almost every day. My father gets angry and asks for his document, says he is dying and is very sick. My mother says she will give it back to him. If he needs to go to the doctor, she will even take him. We do not get to see the doctor. My father replies that he only wants her to take him to the cemetery and that he never wanted to see her. It's impossible to talk normally with her. I have to have at least an hour available and be ready to listen without being able to say anything. She acts childish, even crazy at times, and starts talking about all the nasty things that have happened over the years. She opens up all the old wounds and traumas from the past, and it hurts me terribly. It's exhausting, and I start to feel only hatred. I close myself off. I'm sad and irritable. I remember what it's like to grow up like this. The emotion from before takes over me, and I can't function normally. I can't even handle basic things. My immediate surroundings can't listen to this anymore, and it gets annoying for me to even describe the situation. I don't know what to do. I'm worried about my father. I want to know how he is and help him, take care of him, but I don't see anything concrete that I can do. I don't have direct transportation to him, and to go, I have to spend the night in my hometown, that is with my mother, and this brings everything back to the starting point. He wants his document, she doesn't give it to him, changes the subject and starts taking out dirty shirts, old injuries, and I'm still nowhere. How do I deal with this situation?
Wow, you can just feel the exhaustion and the sense of being completely trapped in that story, can't you? This dynamic, it's so much more than just a family argument. It's actually a recognizable psychological pattern. And giving this pattern a name, that's the very first step toward understanding it and eventually changing it.
So what's going on here has a name. It's called emotional triangulation. It's a really common pattern, and it's usually not even conscious. It's what happens when a conflict between two people feels too intense, so they pull in a third person to stabilize things, to absorb all that tension. The big problem, of course, is that all that tension and all that pain gets redirected right onto that third person, in this case, the adult child.
So without even realizing it, you've been cast in these impossible roles. You've become the mediator, trying to make peace between two people who won't talk to each other. You're the savior, trying to protect your father. And you're the emotional container, forced to hold decades of your mother's unprocessed pain and trauma. It's an impossible job. So if you feel like you're breaking down, like you just can't function, I really want you to hear this. It's no wonder. This is not weakness, not at all. It is the completely natural, predictable response of a nervous system being dragged right back into old trauma. Your body is literally reliving what it felt like to be a trapped child. This next part is probably the most important shift you can possibly make. It's a powerful realization. This conflict between your parents, it doesn't actually belong to you. The way forward starts by untangling what is their responsibility and what is yours. Let's just look at this side by side because it makes it so clear. On the left, we've got your parents' tasks. Resolving a 30-year-old conflict, that's on them. Managing their own legal documents, also them. Processing their past trauma, absolutely their job. Now look at the right side, your role. Setting personal boundaries, protecting your own mental peace. And notice this last one, offering logistical help if you choose. That's a choice, not an obligation. Okay, first, let's talk about the ID card, because it feels like this huge, unsolvable problem, but it's really not. The power the mother seems to have here, it's an illusion. There's a simple administrative fix. The father can go to the local authorities and report the card as lost or, wrongfully retained. They'll issue him a new one, and the old one she's holding, it becomes completely invalid. Just like that, you are out of the middle. So what do you actually say? Here is a script you can literally use. This is an administrative matter. Please resolve it through the proper institutions. I will no longer participate in this dispute. See how it's short, factual, and not emotional? You're not arguing, you're not defending, you are simply stating a boundary and removing yourself from the conflict. All right, we've talked about the practical issue, but now we have to tackle the much, much harder challenge, reclaiming your conversations. Learning how to set emotional boundaries, especially with a parent, is a skill, and it's a skill you can learn. This requires a huge shift in thinking. So I'm going to say it plainly. You are not obligated to be your parent's therapist. You are not required to absorb trauma that isn't yours to carry. Giving yourself permission to let go of that perceived duty is absolutely key.
So here's another direct, powerful tool, a script. You say, calmly, Mom, if the conversation turns to the past and accusations, I will hang up. I cannot carry this for you. You state the boundary and you state the consequence. And when she crosses that line, you follow through. No anger, no argument, you just end the call.
Now, a little heads up. When you start doing this, it's not going to be easy. The first few times you enforce a boundary, you should probably expect some pushback. Maybe anger, maybe drama. That's a totally normal reaction when you're changing a dynamic that's been in place for decades. The absolute key here is consistency. You teach people how to treat you through repetition. So let's go back to that feeling of being paralyzed, of not being able to handle even basic things. Why does it feel so incredibly overwhelming? It's because these fights, they don't just trigger the adult you are today. They activate the helpless child from the past. Just look at the difference in power between then and now. Back then, as a child, you had to listen. You carried guilt that wasn't yours. You had no escape. But now, as an adult, the whole game has changed. You can set limits, you know you're not responsible for their feelings, and most importantly, you can choose to walk away. You can hang up the phone, you can leave the room, you have agency. And this all brings us to the final and maybe the most difficult truth of all. There's this deep, deep human desire to rescue our parents, isn't there? To fix the injustices of the past and to somehow make it all right. But you can't. It's just not possible. Your parents are adults. They have had over 30 years to make different choices. Their unresolved conflict, their inability to communicate, these are the consequences of their own decisions, repeated over and over again. And that means your primary responsibility here is not what you might think it is. Your job is not to fix their lives. Your number one job is self-preservation. It is to ensure that you do not break under the weight of their history. Your well-being has to come first. So I'll leave you with a final question to really reflect on, a question that reframes your entire role here, from one of obligation to one of choice. Is your job to keep carrying the crushing weight of their past, or is it to put it down and start building a future where you can finally be free?